Wentworth & Sons, still serving the public after 40 years of doing nothing else, is proud to present tonight's installment of Biff Baxter, Boy Whale Oil Processor. We join Biff Baxter as he is taking a stroll down Main Street in beautiful downtown Skunkhaven with his mother, Ma Baxter, his sister, Daisy Ann, and Grandpa Witherspoon, as Daisy Ann excitedly clutches her mother's hand.
Mr. Dewey, the lawyer, Mr. Fulbright, the banker, and Mr. Group, the candlestick maker, all walking down the same street at the same time. And they all have concerned looks playing across their occupationally successful faces.
I wonder what has them all so troubled.
Well, I might be able to help you there, Ma. Lawyer Dewey is probably on his way to file fraud charges with the State Bar Association's Ethics and Regulations Committee against Grandpa Witherspoon for practicing law without a license.
Practicing law without a license? Where'd you ever get such a fool notion like that?
Well, there's no use trying to plead ignorance, Grandpa Witherspoon. I was there at Louie's barbershop when you were talking with your cronies about the scrape 10-year-old Waldo Flesk got himself into when he spray-painted that his teacher, Mr. Narwhal, is a knothead, all over the entrance to the underpass.
What? I was just talking about all the evidence they had against the Flesk boy, and how incriminating it all is.
And that's just what a lawyer would do, arguing a case before a jury.
That's not the same thing.
It's because of someone practicing law without a license that D.B. Cooper got away with his crime.
D.B. Cooper got away with his crime because he was never caught.
Well, that'll be up to the State Bar Association's Ethics and Regulations Committee to determine, I'm afraid.
Wow! Grandpa Witherspoon is being brought before the State Bar Association's Ethics and Regulations Committee for practicing law without a license. It's like having Frank Abagnale in the family.
But these trumped-up charges against Grandpa Witherspoon doesn't explain why banker Fulbright's upset.
Oh, I think I know what has the august banker of our fair city so discombobulated, Ma. It must be because he's on his way to report you to the Federal Reserve for attempting to pass bad checks.
What are you talking about? I've never attempted to pass a bad check in my life.
Don't try to cover up your crime with perjury, Ma. Don't you remember last week when you wrote a check knowing you didn't have enough money in your account to cover it?
I wrote that check to buy some new towels for the bathroom from a mail order catalog. I drove to the post office to mail the order, then went right to the bank to make a deposit to cover it. The mail order company was clear across the country. They wouldn't cash my check for at least 3 to 5 business days. And when they did, the money was in my account to cover it.
Well, that's all semantics, Ma. For at least 10 or 15 minutes, your account was potentially overdrawn. If that check had somehow gotten clear across the country and the mail order people had cashed it immediately, that check would have bounced. It's that kind of reckless financial practices that caused the Great Depression, you know.
The Great Depression wasn't caused by someone writing a bad check. It started when the stock market crashed.
Well, Banker Fulbright and the FBI may feel differently about that when they come after you.
Wow! Ma's being investigated by the FBI for bank fraud. It's like having Bernie Madoff in the family.
You know, Biff, we'd all be a lot better off if you didn't get these fool notions in your head.
Well, none of that explains why Mr. Group, the candlestick maker, has to be anxious about.
Oh, I think I might know, Ma.
I'm not surprised.
It has to do with our dog, Tippy.
What about Tippy?
Well, I had to rat him out to Mr. Group. You see, Mr. Group uses beeswax to make candles. Well, last week, Tippy chewed up his last box of beeswax. Mr. Group had to wait a week to get another shipment in, and it made him 5 minutes late in filling that order for the all-ladies supermarket cashier's holiday choir. Well, they needed those candles for the closing of their holiday concert.
What are you talking about? That box Tippy got into was empty. It was Mr. Group's last box because he forgot to order more when his supply was running low. What caused him to be late with his order was his own neglect.
I wouldn't be so sure of that, Gramps. You know, it was a dog getting into a box of beeswax that caused the Great Chicago Fire.
That wasn't caused by a dog getting into a box of beeswax. It was caused by a cow kicking over a lantern.
Well, since the new beeswax had to be ordered from out of state, the United States Senate Committee on Commerce, Science, and Transportation will have the final word on that.
Wow! Tippy's being investigated by the United States Senate Committee on Commerce, Science, and Transportation. It's like having Al Capone's dog in the family.
You cause us more trouble than we deserve. All of these wild accusations are completely unfounded.
Well, I guess we'll see if you're correct in a minute, Gramps. Lawyer Dewey, Banker Fulbright, and Candlemaker Group are all coming right for us.
Hi, Lawyer Dewey. Should we expect a letter from the State Bar Association's Ethics and Regulations Committee in today's mail?
I don't know why you would.
Oh, then Banker Fulbright, do you expect the FBI will be waiting at our door when we get home?
No, I don't expect that at all.
I see. Well, tell me, Candlestick Maker Group, when can we expect a call from the United States Senate Committee on Commerce, Science, and Transportation?
Well, never, I would suppose.
So none of my family members are about to be turned over to the proper authorities? Oh well, maybe next time.
We couldn't help noticing that all three of you have a rather concerned and preoccupied look about you. What has you all so distressed?
We are trying to decide where to eat lunch today.
We are all on rather tight schedules, so we need somewhere with fast service.
And we each have dietary restrictions, so we need somewhere that can accommodate our various needs.
Well, then I would recommend the Bluebird Diner. They have the best lunch menu in town.
That's right, they do. Besides, they have fast service, and will cook your food with each of your restrictions in mind. And their portions are big, so you'll have plenty to take home in a doggy bag.
Here, let me write down the address for you.
Well, then the Bluebird Diner it is, gentlemen.
Thank you, Baxter family.
Yes, we are much obliged.
Well, it appears as though their appetites were enough to take their minds off those fool accusations you made against us, Biff.
Yes, that was a close call, but now we can continue our walk with a clear conscience.
Well, I don't know about that, Ma.
What are you talking about now, Biff?
You, Gramps, and even Tippy endorsed the Bluebird Diner as having the best lunch menu in town. But according to the food critic at the Daily Press, the Epicurean Shack has the best lunch menu in town. Oh, you're all guilty of slander. And you, Gramps, are guilty of libel because you wrote down the address for them.
We weren't misquoting the Daily Press, we were giving our opinion.
The Daily Press isn't the final word on good restaurants.
I'm afraid you're just digging a bigger hole for yourself there, Gramps. The state Supreme Court will have the final say here. Sorry, Ma. Sorry, Gramps. Sorry, Tippy.
Be sure to join us next time when Blattworth & Sons, still serving the public after 40 years of doing nothing else, proudly presents Biff Baxter, Boy Whale Oil Processor.